FTN Nation, what is up? Happy Sunday. Welcome into the Sunday morning betting show brought to you by, of course, FTN. Crist, Meaney, Eliot, Crist, and Matthew Freedman here with you for the next hour. We're going to break down our favorite picks, spreads, totals, some props. Eliot's got some Sunday specials. I got a parlay at the end here. How are we doing? Eliot, we'll start with you, man. You ready to rock today? Sunday football. Let's go, buddy.
I got to be honest, this is probably my favorite show that I do every week. No offense to anybody else, getting to do it with you too. The intro, I need to talk to the producer afterwards about what beat this is. I'm like hyped for this show right now. That's honestly, that's if normally Sunday mornings it's like the Fox intro, it's the CBS intro, but now it's the Sunday morning betting show intro. I think that gets me most hyped. So excited for this Sunday's action.
Freedman, are you feeling it? Are you feeling the intro here? You're head bobbing, you're ready to go here. You got some picks for us?
Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, it doesn't take much to get me really excited. So yeah, very, very excited to do the show. Also, I should say, as the music was popping up, I started having computer issues. It's like a player who tweaks his hamstring during pregame warmups. It doesn't matter. I'm a champion, still going to play through it.
I love it. I love the spirit. Well, why don't you kick us off, sir? What's your favorite spread here today?
I don't know if I can say this is my favorite, but it's the one that I'm going with. I'm going with Panthers plus 4.5 over my Dallas Cowboys. You can get this at BetMGM. It's for a lot of places across the market, so there is some value here. Guys, I've had a really good sports betting year, if not for the fact that I bet against the Cowboys every week. This is incredibly painful for me, both as a fan and as a sports bettor. So I've gotten it incredibly wrong each week going against the Cowboys. However, I've been really good betting on the Panthers each week. And now we have these two 3-0 teams against the spread facing each other. I mean, I'll just say, I think these Cowboys teams, especially the defense I think is fake. The Panthers, I think they are exactly what they look like. A really good defense with an offense that is just good enough. The sample is small, so I'm not going to read too much into it, but this defense, you look across the metrics, they're number one or number two in a lot of different things. Number one in yards per play, time plays, yards allowed per drive. They're number one in pass DVOA, run DVOA. They're number two in points allowed per game and points allowed per drive. And then on offense, they're not lighting it up, but they're sufficient. They're mediocre, which is better than what we would expect given that Sam Darnold is the quarterback. They're in the middle of the road for a lot of things. The Cowboys, we know they're great on offense, right? Top 10 in passing, top 10 in rushing, but this defense, it's fake. It is an incredibly fake defense. It's number 31 in overall yards passing allowed, 995 yards allowed, but they're number one in interceptions. Big deal. Interceptions are luck. They're mainly the function of luck. They're number 25 in yards allowed per drive, number one in total turnovers. What is going to happen when they face a team that doesn't make mistakes? And that could happen this week, especially against a Panthers team that has had 4 extra days to prepare because the Panthers played on Thursday Night Football, Cowboys played on Monday Night Football. The scheduling gods have conspired to give the Panthers a fantastic edge in this game. And underdogs are 7-2 against this spread versus the Cowboys under head coach Mike McCarthy, who seems to know how to make any edge incredibly dull. And the Panthers head coach Matt Rule, he's 9-4 against the spread as an underdog, 8-1 against the spread on the road. I have to take the Panthers in this spot. If the Cowboys make me eat it again for a 4th straight week, I'll surrender. But this final week, I have to go against the Cowboys. I'm taking the Panthers plus 4.5.
Jeez, man, I was thinking that the boys would win here today convincingly. Like, I think I was kind of buying into their defense, but maybe this is more on just the Eagles last week. Yeah, the Panthers also come in leading the NFL in sacks a couple years ago. All they did was draft defensive players, and I think we're starting to see that defense take shape. They play with a lot of speed. Geez, are you buying what Freedman's telling there, Eliot? He makes a lot of good points.
I'm buying the over in that game. To be honest, we saw the Cowboys throw 76% of the time in Week 1 against the 2020 number one adjusted line yards defense. Now in the 2021 number one adjusted line yards defense is the Carolina Panthers. So I think they're going to check to more passes in this game. I think there'll be a lot of points scored on both sides. To Freeman's point, I think there's definitely some guys on Dallas's defense that are legit, like Trayvon Diggs. I think is really good. Micah Parsons is showing that his raw athleticism is kind of transforming that defense a little bit. But at the same time, the rest of their secondary is still abysmal, and the Panthers have a lot of weapons. So I think it'll be a fun game. I think it'll be a close game. I am buying that this Panthers team is pretty legit. I think they've got great coaching and overall solid roster. I think J.C. Horn being out is a big deal. They did get C.J. Henderson, but I don't think he's the same caliber of player. I know they were both top 10 draft picks. And he's also, he's been there for a week, right? There's only so much you can do. It's kind of just going to be like, go for your man and see what happens. But I would lean the Panthers side. I don't have a play on the side, but I do like points. I like points in every Dallas game.
Well, Freeman's not wrong about McCarthy. Like how he mismanages every single game, week in and week out. It's absolutely mind-boggling. That I don't know. I don't have anything positive to say about him, but we'll move on. Eliot, what do you got for us in terms of spreads?
Yeah, well, I always like to dress in theme, right? I'm like a 16-year-old.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to go Dolphins -2. So the Colts have allowed the most pressure, they've allowed the most QB hits, and they've allowed the most quarterback sacks. And that is partially on Carson Wentz, and it's partially on the fact that their offensive line is not good. Now, they have one player who's allowed 6% or lower pressure rate allowed. It's the third best guard in football. It's Quentin Nelson, and now he is out. Every other lineman has allowed a pressure rate of above 15%. Carson Wentz led football last year in interceptable passes. To Freeman's point, interceptions are luck. Interceptable passes kind of give you a trend of guys who make mistakes, and that's something that Carson Wentz likes to do. We're also talking about a statue back there with 2 messed up legs, and the Dolphins currently have the longest interception or turnover streak of 23 straight games since 2013, the New England Patriots. Like, the Dolphins' defense and what they do well, I think, really matches up well with the Colts. They struggle a little bit on the ground, but no Quentin Nelson. We'll see. Jonathan Taylor's a little banged up. We'll see how that all adjusts. And, it's just like, I was on the Dolphins last week. They covered the +4 against the Raiders. I think we're almost over-adjusting to the fact that Jacoby Brissett is the quarterback. So I think the Dolphins will take care of the football. I think they are the better team on both areas. I love attacking vulnerable offensive lines, and I love attacking quarterbacks who make a lot of mistakes, and I think that's exactly what the Colts are. So give me the Dolphins -2.
Maybe I'm like a 16-year-old as well, because I like when you dress in theme, dude. I always dig the hats. Like, I look forward to this show more than any show. I'm with you. I love it. Like, you guys are super sharp. I always feel like I learned something, but I'm always like, what hat is Eliot going to rock today? What team is Eliot feeling today? But you're right about Brissett. Like, there's no shots fired here at Tua. I don't think there's a significant drop-off between the two quarterbacks. And I like the fact that he just peppered Gesicki and peppered Waddle multiple times. Both guys, I think they combined for 25 targets. He knew what he had in those guys. He felt confident throwing the football to them. And, man, dude's a baller, too. Like, towards the end of that game against Las Vegas, like, he had a couple really strong runs, put his body on the line, and found a way to force that game into overtime. I'm with you. I like Miami as well. I got a bit of a chalkier pick here. I am buying into absolutely every sort of narrative here when it comes to Tom Brady going back to Foxborough. I just think that he carves up this defense, and he has his way here today. I think the better storyline would be Bill Belichick's defense maybe creating a couple turnovers and maybe Brady struggling in that game and the Pats finding a way to win. Like, that would be, and then on Monday morning, we can all talk about that nonsense. But I just think Brady goes in there and has his way. We're just seeing a Bucs team. They're playing quick, according to our pace tool, in seconds per snap, number 2, Jags number 1, going to be number 1 probably all year. But Tampa, the pass rate, 77% is number 1. Brady is totally looking forward to this game. He's not going to have his boy Gronk there. We got Antonio Brown back here. And I just don't believe that this Pats team can keep up. Like, I feel like New England's going to score 30. How many points are the Pats going to score here? Last week against the Saints, they started 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. They had to abandon the run, put all that pressure on the rookie quarterback and Mac Jones, who he made a lot of mistakes. Some of them weren't on him. One was a target to Johnny. We probably should have reeled in. He kind of fumbled that ball, put it up in the air, and it was a pick six the other way. So this is me believing in Tampa and Tom Brady getting to the 30-point mark. And also on the flip side of this, New England struggling on offense, not being able to find the run game against the league's best rush defense in each of the past 2 seasons. So is Damian Harris just going to take a seat again? Is it going to be game scripted and be on the sidelines? And then Brendan Bolden's in there and JJ Taylor. Like, it's not great in New England. And this is it for Tom Brady here today. 68 yards passing. When does he do it, Freedman? That's all he needs to do to pass Drew Brees for the most passing yards of all time. What is it? On throw 4? Is it right away to Mike Evans down the sidelines? Like, when does it happen? It's happening early, and it's going to be a massive day, I think, for Brady here today.
Yeah, first quarter, first drive. I mean, Brady
Yeah.
Brady going against the Patriots is going to be like Anakin Skywalker slicing down a lot of younglings. Like it's going to be a bloodfest. And then I'm with Eliot on Dolphins. Anytime I can bet against Carson Wentz, and anytime I can bet on Brian Flores, I want to do it. And then you put those two guys in the same game, it's perfect.
Poor Carson Wentz. Yeah, he's been struggling. One thing from that game, Elliot, I was surprised. Well, as we get into props here shortly, is that there's actually a lot of props I like in that game, like Waddle at 3.5. It's kind of juiced to the over, but Gesicki's plus money at 3.5. And then Pittman, as much as I don't like Wentz, he has 60% of his team's air yards in the last 2 weeks and 24 targets over the last 2 weeks as well. We'll get to props in a little bit. Freedman, kick us off with one of your favorite totals.
So I feel like I talked about the Giants under last week. I'm talking about it again this week. This
year,
line,
baby.
This line cannot drop far enough. I bet it on Sunday night. It was 47 on Sunday night, and it's been steadily bet down since then. And so it just talks to the benefit of betting early if you have the opportunity to do it, and checking the early lines. This line is now straddling 41.5, 42 across the industry. It is available at 42.5 at DraftKings right now. If you look at our betting odds page at FTN Bets, and you can just easily see the book that offers the best line out there. So get it at DraftKings. If you like it, I would bet it now, because that line might continue to drop as we get closer to game time. Again, under conservative head coach Joe Judge and with incompetent offensive coordinator Jason Garrett, the Giants have an under record of 14-4-1 since last year. And given just how that team is run, I think that makes sense. And then as for the Saints, I talked about them on the Tuesday episode of the Degenerate Sports Betting podcast. They're one of the 7 teams this year that has a 3-0 record to the under. And what all of these teams have in common is that they have a very good defense with a mediocre at best offense. And you look at the Saints, and that checks out. They're number 7 in yards per play allowed, number 29 in yards per play on offense. So that combination of near elite defense and really underperforming offense serves to drive games to the under. I think that's what we see again this week. So under 42.5, that is where I'm going with the Giants and Saints game.
Yeah, Winston, I mean, who would have thought through 3 weeks after, I guess who would have thought? I don't know. Probably a lot of people. But 148 yards passing in week 1, it's like, okay, he had a pretty good game. Only 20 attempts, though. Well, when they get into more competitive games, will he throw the ball a little bit more? And it's like, it's not the case. 22 attempts in week 2, 111 yards, 21 attempts last week, 128 yards. So, like, Peyton will not let this guy throw the football down the field or really throw it at all. So you're right. I mean, they're playing at a very slow pace. And they're not taking a lot of shots. They want to run the football and rely on their defense. Elliot, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's also like the Saints don't have any receivers, right? Like we tried to make Marquez Callaway a thing where he went from round 18 to round 7. Maybe that was a whoops.
He was on waiver wires.
Yeah, like it's tough to that's a whole nother subject, but actually, we were talking about the Bucs and Brady. I'm on the Bucs over 27.5. I think it's climbed to 28.5 a lot of places. Nice. I would pay for that hook. I think it's minus 130 right now, as opposed to that point of 27.5 to 28.5 is legit massive. To your point, Meaney, like the Bucs are second in pace. If you exclude the final 2 minutes of the first half and second half, they're the fastest team in football. Their pass defense is also abysmal. It's the worst start of ever in the history of football for a pass defense. I love overs in this game in general. Like I got Tom Brady at 295. It's anywhere as high as 305, 310. I got the Bucs 2 weeks ago at 5.5. I think Freedman's on that as well. And then it's now up to 7 most places. That was like one of those lines that even if you just knew the value was coming because there's going to be a lot of late money on Brady and the narrative anyway. But beyond the narrative, you mentioned Jameis Winston in this pass defense. Like, who have the Patriots played this year? They played the Saints and Jameis Winston. They played the Jets and Zach Wilson and the Dolphins and Tua. Like, this defense has not been challenged at all. And I think that the Bucs have shown that they're going to continue to push even if they get up. That Brady is going to have a huge game against a secondary that's also missing Stephon Gilmore, which is a huge key to everything. I know there's no Gronk, but they do get Antonio Brown back. And the Patriots are also the Bucs are also missing Giovanni Bernard in this game. I think they're just going to let loose. Like, I don't think you're going to see much Ronald Jones. I think Fournette's going to be involved in the passing game, but not much in the rushing game. And it's just going to be the Brady show. And narratives are something I try not to buy into. But when the analytics back up the Bucks, and then you add in the fact that Tom Brady's a different type of dude. Like, he's like that Jordan, Kobe, whatever. Like, when he wants to go Terminator, he's going to go Terminator. And I would be floored if the Bucks don't score 28 points. I think they scored 27 and they missed an extra point. Like, I think they're going to light up the Patriots tonight. It's something like, I think they might score 40.
Yeah. And Brady off a loss, by the way.
Right. And that's another thing, Freeman. You're right. Brady off a loss. Absolutely. Which kind of transitions here into my total. And, you guys said it perfectly, being on the Bucks early, also being on the Bucks early, the Chiefs 5.5, Seattle plus 3.5 on Sunday night in the ticker. Now we're seeing 1.5, 2 in some spots for San Fran. Like, FTN alerts, I'll just hammer it. If you're watching along here for the first time, welcome in. We love the support here. We'll do this every Sunday, but FTN alerts on the Twitter machine, like, that's an account for you. I mean, the bets are being made early, especially from all three of us. I think we do a really good job of finding the lines and finding an edge really early on. And Freeman and Eliot, you guys have had bets in right away from Sunday night, Monday morning, just finding edges. So you get notified when the bet is made, and then you find the edge, and that's how you win. Right? I think with all the line movement that we've seen. Actually, I think I've seen more line movement this week than any other week, but I'm in on a high total game here, KC and Philly. Freeman, you were talking about coming off a loss. The Chiefs now coming off 2 losses. We talked last week about maybe Vegas giving them a little bit more respect and them not covering. I'm just going to stay away. I do like KC. Like, I had it 5.5. It's up to 7 now. I think that they would probably win here by 10 points, but I think they get right on offense. But man, their defense has a lot of holes right now, and they're struggling. You're talking about pass DVOA and rest DVOA with the Panthers. It's a complete opposite with KC here. Dead last against the run, dead last against the pass, 5.4 yards per attempt on the ground. I don't know if Miles Sanders is going to get double-digit carries. I think he's going to get more than 2. Maybe Philly can do their part, but I'm looking at a KC team that just gets right on offense here. Take care of the football. They're still scoring a lot of points despite a lot of turnovers. Like last week against the Chargers, they moved the football against them, but they had 3 turnovers, 2 of them inside the red zone. Take care of the football. But at the same time, just their games overall, they played 3. The average point total, guys, I don't know if you know, the average point total in their games is 62.3. 62.3. Like, that's absurd. It's crazy. And for a team that has had as many turnovers as they've had on offense as well, both teams inside the top 10 in quarterback percentage, like completion percentage against, they're both tied. And that's at 70%. And Jalen Hurts is making some mistakes. We like him from a fantasy standpoint. It seems like he's throwing 300 yards or he's rushing for 50. I think he can do enough against the Chiefs offense to get to 20, 21, and then we can get to that number. So it is a high number. But like I said, much like I feel with the Bucks scoring a lot of points and getting to 30, I think KC does their part and gets 34. Just need a couple touchdowns here from Hurts and the Eagles, and I think we can get there. Freeman, what do you think about that? What do you think about the Chiefs? Do they get right here today? Andy Reid going back to Philly. We can buy into that narrative as well. Did the Chiefs get right here today on offense?
Yeah, the Andy Reid hashtag revenge game. You got to love that. I'll say the 2 teams I've had just a really bad read on this season, the Cowboys and then the Chiefs. And so I'm 0-3 betting on the Chiefs against the spread this year. So this past week I just laid off. And then of course this is the one week where it's like, oh no, there was significant line movement in their favor. I really should have betted on Sunday. So no matter what I'm doing with the Chiefs, it seems I've been wrong for this season. But yeah, if I had to pick a side on this one, I would be going with the Chiefs. And the over, I definitely like that idea because I think the Chiefs get right. I totally agree with you on offense. They're up there. They're top 5 in the league in terms of yards per play. What they're doing, they're just shooting themselves in the foot with the turnovers. Eventually they clean that up, but I don't think they can clean up the defense. I think they are just legit bad on defense. And that obviously would tend to drive this game to the over.
What do you got for a prop that you're thinking here? What stands out to you?
I think I might have gone with Robert Woods rushing last week. I don't remember if that's what I talked about on the show, but if not, then I'm going to that general dynamic of a wide receiver and his rushing prop because I love that. Like, this is the type of thing that I live for, thinking about a wide receiver and is he going to get that one carry this game? You got to sweat it out. So Debo Samuel over 2.5 yards rushing. He already has 4 carries this year. Now, granted, he has only 8 yards rushing, but he's a rushing machine if we just look at him throughout his career. Over his past 16 regular season games, he has 156 yards rushing on 21 carries. And that doesn't include what he did in the 2019 postseason, where he had 6 carries for 102 yards. So you look at those 19 past games that he's played, he's gone over 2.5 yards 14 times. And if you look at our FTN Bets odds converter at minus 125 odds, this has a 55.6% implied probability. I think the real odds of him going over are around 70%. If you look at 14 out of 19, that's around 73, 74%. And especially with Eli Mitchell out once again for the 49ers, they are really weak at running back. They have Trey Sermon and fullback Kyle Juszczyk, who got some like legit running back treatment last week. I think it makes sense for them to give Samuel and maybe an extra carry on top of what they would normally give him in a game, just because they don't really have it going on at running back. So I think we see 2 to 3 carries in this game for Samuel, which I think gives him a great shot of going over 2.5 yards rushing.
Dude, he may just leave the backfield in rushing yards today. Who knows,
there's a
right?
chance. There's a chance.
There's a chance, yeah. Elijah, if Sermon can't get anything going. You got Trey Lance coming in for a carry, Juszczyk coming in for a carry. Who knows who else Shanahan has in his backfield that'll throw it there. I like that bet, man. I'm into that one. Eliot, what do you got for us?
So if Freedman likes wide receiver rushing yards, how does he feel about backup quarterback receiving yards? This is a bonus bet, but you could bet they took it down. But Taysom Hill over under 1.5 receiving yards, something he has not had a target this season. He's only won 21 routes. We actually had to pull that from FTN data because you can't find it anywhere because no one tracks quarterback routes. I know he also plays, punt protector and tight end and everything else, but running 7 routes a game, you got to take the under on 1.5. But we're going to make this one a little more exciting, something that could happen in one play, but probably doesn't. Amari Cooper, over 60.5 receiving yards. I got it at 61. It's anywhere between 60 and 63 right now. So Amari Cooper at home has crushed with Dallas, and those are splits that can get, overblown home road. But, it's something that's been especially like speed receivers in a dome that matters. But when you look at Amari Cooper's numbers with Dak Prescott at home when he throws 35 or more times, and the reason I'm like, that's an arbitrary number, but you got to pick something, right? And the reason I did that, his pass attempts is 36.5 in terms of his over-under. He's averaging 138 yards per game at home when Dak throws 35 or more times. And we're talking about the number 1 adjusted line yards defense in football. And the last time they played a top run defense, they threw 76% of the time. And Amari Cooper sailed over 100 yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not worried about his ribs. He ran the most routes of any receiver on the Cowboys last week. And I don't think this Panthers team is not a too high shell where the Eagles have the most rush attempts against them in all of football. And the Chargers literally are like, please run the ball against us. For the love of God, run it, right? They've allowed more yards per attempt against them than anybody else. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 100 yards last week. So I think you're going to see the Cowboys pass offense go. And if they go, Amari Cooper is going to sail over 60 yards.
I gotta say, can I jump in? I love this.
Yeah,
I love it. I wish I'm gonna bet
it
right after I'm done with the AMA after this. Absolutely love it. And Elliot's right. And it's not just the splits of home road, it's also favorite underdog for Amari Cooper. And when you put those two things together, Cooper has smashed at home as a home favorite. So again, I love this bet.
I'm going to see what it's on FanDuel afterwards for 100 plus yards and a touchdown. I wonder what that pays out at. I know that's not necessarily a Freedman thing, but if that pays out at 5 or 6 to 1, I think that's got a real shot of hitting.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I wouldn't get discouraged like with last week. I think what you said, Eliot, with the Eagles defense, I mean, they just tried to focus it. They just thought that Dak would throw all over them with Cooper and with CeeDee Lamb, and they just took what the defense gave them, and they ran the football down their throats. But this is a low number when it comes to Cooper, considering not just the splits, but what he's been doing with Dak since he was acquired. I like that bet as well. Use our prop shop all the time. You get the best possible odds. I'm seeing right now live Otto Beckham Jr. minus 128 for over 4.5 grabs at FanDuel. He's minus 145 at William Hill, and he's minus 143 at BetMGM. I was really encouraged with his first game last week. He played 70% of the snaps. He ran 34 routes, which led the team. And, Donovan Peoples-Jones he's just out there. Like, he's not getting targeted. He's not really running a lot of routes. He's just out there, man. I don't see him get any looks. And for OBJ, 9 targets, 5 grabs last week, 77 yards. I even like the over 65.5. I'm really looking forward to this game. I think on both sides, they can certainly move the ball. Kirk Cousins is playing great football this season. It's going to be a tougher matchup for him, but his defense is not playing all that great. The secondary hasn't been good. A 73% completion rate is what they're allowing opposing quarterbacks. Is number 1 in the NFL. 10.1 yard per pass attempt is number 2 in the NFL as well. So I think OBJ got that first game under his belt. He could flirt with maybe 90% of the snaps in this game if it does get competitive. Maybe more targets down the stretch for him as well. So I think he finds a way to get 5 grabs. We're kind of short here on time, Eliot, but I need I need it, buddy. I need something like a Sunday special. I need a parlay. I need that in my life. What do you got?
By the way, I just checked while you were talking. The Cooper thing is plus 613 for 100 yards and a touchdown.
Oh wow!
I will be putting that in as soon as this show ends. And Meaney, I thought you were going to go with Waddle, which is another thing that I know we've talked about. So that's why I also got dressed. I got a theme for you, man. So I mean, next time I got to throw the Browns gear on if you're going to go Odell. I think he's down to 18-1, but I got him at 23-1. Kyler Murray to lead the day in passing yards. We didn't get Stafford last week. He did throw for 360 and ended up being on the other side of that game. But Kyler and the Cardinals, when they are trailing, run no huddle at 52% of the time. They also increase their pass rate about 8%. This is a game that has the highest total or second highest total, depending on where you look. And they are 4.5-point underdogs against a Rams team that, yes, their defense is good, but the Cardinals can really exploit them. They're going to roll out 4 wide. And the one game where the Cardinals really had to push the pace and were trailing was against the Minnesota Vikings. And Murray threw for over 400 yards and led the day in passing yards. So this is one of those situations where I think we have him 5th in our current projections. The odds just didn't make sense at 23-1. I mean, he's getting in line with Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, he should probably be close. He's down to 18-1. He should probably closer to 12-1. So the thing about 23-1 bets is you have to realize you're not going to hit them every week, right? That's the thing. You got to stay patient with them. It's trusting the process and getting the best numbers each time. And I feel like Murray's got a real shot to do it today.
And I don't know how much success they'll have running the football here today against the Rams. I think they're going to drop back a lot and throw the football. I do have a Waddle parlay for those north of the border who have watched the show and have asked. Last week we hit these people can get it at Bet365. It's OBJ, who I just talked about, 4.5 grabs, Cook 5.5, or Cooks rather. I mean, it's really windy and rainy in Buffalo. I have a couple people friends going to the game today, but I still think Cooks is going to be fine. He'll get the targets at least. Waddle over 3.5, and then Tyreek Hill over 5.5. Freedman, you are going to take care of the people. AMA for the next 30 minutes, Jock Market. Any final words here on this show today before we close?
I just want to echo Eliot talking about Kyler Murray. I love that. And especially because the Cardinals have been pretty good, even against the spread, as road underdogs, because it's a situation where they just have to let Kyler do his thing. So I do like that idea. Exactly. Kyler leading the league today in passing.
All right, make sure you check out Freedman over the next 30 minutes, and at 11:30 NFL DFS Live, D-Bro, Blickle, and D Jones with you to get your lineup set in DFS. Any questions, hit us up in the Discord channel and check out the bet tracker, because I think a few of us may be putting in some more bets before kickoff. Good luck today. Have a great Sunday, and we'll talk to you next week. Cheers.